The episode starts out with Azimuth yelling at them for failing while Ship was chasing around one of the Galvin on a jetpack trying to play, though Ben says that he has a way to deal with this, and besides, they still did a lot of good while dealing with Aggregor, and Azimuth tells them that saving a few planets won't compare to the destruction that Aggregor could cause. Ben again tells Azimuth he's got this, and Kevin asks where the forge is exactly. Azimuth yells that he doesn't know where it is, making Ship stare at them while still jumping and accidentally crashing into a console, sliding down it since he had to be focusing to merge with it. Ben then yells out for them to shut up and listen. He has a way to help if they'll just give him a moment. They all stop and look at Ben as he activates the dial on the watch and changes into Alien X, and Azimuth says that Alien X could do basically anything, and Gwen adds if Ben can get them to cooperate, that is. We then cut to the inside of the Celestial Sapien transformation where Serena looked happy to see Ben, but then she was the voice of compassion and love, so... Bellicus asks if this is the Ben that they'd actually liked, or that other annoying one, and Ben apologizes for being late, not keeping his end of the bargain the past couple of weeks, explaining about what happened with Aggregor, and the voice of Rage actually seemed happy that it was our Ben and not the other one, asking why he didn't just change into them to take care of everything. Our Ben says that he didn't want to bother the two of them with that until it got serious because they were so powerful it'd be kind of a mild annoyance for the two of them, and Bellicus says he knew there was a reason he liked this one, and asked what they needed from them since they were currently caught up with the arguing at the moment. Ben explains that they needed to get to the Forge of Creation in order to stop Aggregor, and Serena apologizes, saying that that is something that Alien X simply cannot grant. Bellicus then goes on to further explain that the Forge is where all Celestial Sapiens come into being, and it is a great taboo among their people to bring non-Celestial Sapiens there, but if Ben could find a way there himself without their help, they'd give him one free desperation call while there. They then changed Ben back to human before he could convince them, and he sighs, saying that they won't help them get there because it's against their species law. They then hear a voice say that fortunately he could bend those rules, and they turn, seeing Professor Paradox. Azimuth begins to argue with the Time Walker about Ben being able to handle all this, and Paradox says, won't it be fun to find out who's right? Paradox then teleports them all off to somewhere, leaving Azimuth behind. As they appear inside of Ship, already in a spacecraft form, Paradox explains that the yellow glow was their universe, and the pink one up ahead is the next universe over. They were in the space between the multiverse. Paradox makes a nebula appear around them, telling them that this place was out of sync with time and the birthplace of Celestial Sapiens. Though he cannot go any further, just keep heading straight and they will find the infant that Aggregor wishes to absorb the power from, and hopefully stop them from doing so before vanishing. They were attacked by Aggregor's bots and had to fight them off, which thankfully was relatively easy to do, though Ship's wing scraped against the side of the nebula barrier in the process by accident. After taking care of the bots, they headed on outside to check on Ship to see if he was okay, and Ship barked his name showing he was okay, but stuck sadly, and they tried to help pry him loose. Prying didn't work, and Ben suggested that maybe there was something he could change into to help shove it through, while trying to push the barrier only to go flying off, with Gwen pulling him back out onto Ship's wing. Kevin asks if he's alright, and Ben says that he saw something moving in there. A voice says not something, someone, and introduces himself as Ben Tennyson, except it was 10-year-old Ben. Our Ben then says this seems familiar, and Gwen mentions him having a dream like that when they were kids. Kid Ben gets annoyed and asks who they are and why they brought him there. So Ben explains that there was a time travel accident and he was brought here to the future on accident after he fell into the chrono randomization barrier. They changed into Heat Blast and tried to throw a fireball at them, but Ben takes out his plumber's staff and spins it around, making the fireball vanish before jabbing them with the end of the staff in the Omnitrix symbol, changing them back to human. Kid Ben then looks surprised that he could do that and asked who he was and why he was brought there. Ben explains that he is him but from the future, and they are trying to stop the alien tyrant from obtaining finding the ultimate prize. That white wall exists outside of time, so when he fell through, it accidentally pulled them to the present, or Kid Ben's future. Problem is, they are still stuck and have to figure out a way to get them out of the chrono randomization field. Kid Ben says no problem because he's already charged, and hits the watch, changing into Wild Mutt, and our Ben goes wide-eyed and runs over, cutting them off, hitting the Omnitrix symbol on them, and change them back to human again. Kid Ben tells them to quit doing that, but our Ben says that they can't just go taking a bite out of Ship like that, they'll hurt him. Kid Ben then questions, him? And Ship barks out their name, showing that the spacecraft they were on was alive, and then Gwen asked Ship if he could unmorph just that one wing to get them unstuck, then morph it back once they'd freed. And they try that, with it thankfully working, allowing them to get back to what they were doing before. They finally get to where the Celestial Sapiens are and avoid flying into them, saying that they didn't want their attention because they could just blink and they would all be gone. Kid Ben messes with the Ultramatrix, seeing all the different aliens that Ben has, and asked how he broke the Omnitrix, and Ben says that the creator made it blow up when it fell into the hands of Bilgax. Kid Ben says that he's never giving up the Omnitrix to anyone, and Ben says that he didn't give it up, the creator did. Though the Omnitrix comes with a special feature to which that gets Kid Ben's attention, and he asks what special feature. Ben then changes into Big Chill and breathes out ice, then hits the Ultimatrix dial and changes into Ultimate Big Chill and breathes out fire that changes into ice. That got Kid Ben excited, and he couldn't wait to get an Ultimatrix of his own someday, and Ben changed back to human to preserve power, saying that they needed to hold off on any more transformations until they got to the baby Celestial Sapien to stop Agregor from getting his hands on their power. They were hit by something, and Ben calls out to Ship to hold on and try to land on the palm of the Celestial Sapien, with Ship barking in pain but trying his best. They crash landed and Ship let them out before shrinking back down to his normal size, surprising Kid Ben that that little thing was the spaceship. Ben asked Gwen to keep Ship safe, and she nodded, putting up a barrier around herself and Ship, along with the baby Celestial Sapien, with Ship letting out a whimpering noise. Agregor lands, saying that he's not sure how Tennyson beat him there, but it didn't matter because nothing would stop him from claiming his prize, and attacks them. Though they'd almost appeared like normal again, with what little power they had left, they'd fought off Kid Ben and Kevin along with our Ben, though ours had managed to dial in something and barely hit the watch down, changing into Alien X, standing up. There was a call of, "Seconded! Motion carried!" as something began to happen and Agregor's power were drained away, and he was lifted into the air by Alien X, who'd then given them a glare before snapping their fingers, and the map pieces all began to crumple to dust and blow away. Bellicus then asks what they should do with him next, and Serena suggested a mind wipe to make sure he can't remember how to get back here ever again, to which Ben seconded, and Alien X erased his memories of how to get to the forge. Serena asked Ben if he had anything he'd like to add, and Ben smirked, saying, "Let's completely take away everything, even his Osmosian powers, then throw him into the Inkarsicon planet, and let him rot away there for the rest of his days." To which Bellicus seconded, liking that, as Alien X then snapped their fingers and Agregor was then teleported away, as Ben changed back to human and went over to Gwen and Ship, making sure they were alright. Gwen says that they were alright, glad that everything worked out okay, and says that Ship would be okay thankfully also, but would need some time to get better, but asked how they were supposed to get out of there, and Paradox appears, saying that he would take care of that and that they should get moving before the Celestial Sapiens notice that he's there. Kid Ben asked if he's going to remember all this, and Paradox begins to speak, but our Ben cuts him off, telling them it'll seem like a dream. Paradox says this is quite the paradox of a dimension, as usually Kevin becomes mutated from absorbing power from the Ultimatrix. Yes, a rather quite unique turn of events indeed, but they must be off now. Gwen tells Kid Ben goodbye, and that he should try being nicer to his Gwen before kissing him on the cheek, making him blush, but unlike in the show, his whole face turns red, and the group laughs seeing that.